you, for you have shaped me by being my close friends, mentors, teachers, and family. For those of you who I do not know, you bless me simply by allowing me to share my story and message with you today. Man, I love that text from Psalm 46. Be still and know that I am God. I have a long history with that verse, and it's stuck with me for many years now. For those of you who are at my Eucharist testimony, I focused a lot on doubt and the positive and beneficial aspects of it. So in line with that, I found it fitting to speak with you today about faith and trust in God. In my testimony, I briefly shared the story of my faith life, and there's one story in particular I'd like to expand on. Back in elementary school, starting junior high, I was very active in church and loved spending my time there. So in, I believe it was 7th grade, I went on a mission trip to Minneapolis, which was fairly close to home since I'm from one of the suburbs. We did some service in the neighborhood that week, but what I really remember most is what happened the last night. Essentially, I wasn't really feeling like I was fitting in with my peers, and I wasn't really feeling this faith thing. I went into this little mini reflection room that the church had, and which had the lights dimmed, some Bible verse cards around, and some sand in the middle and a dish with a candle in the middle, so kind of typical of a reflection room in the church. I spent some time in there, and I felt rather alone. Then shortly after, my youth director walked in silently and sat down. After a while, he asked me, "What don't you know?" I think it was that question that really jump-started my faith life, at least initially, because I realized at that moment I had so many questions about God, life, myself, my faith, and so on. He then tossed one of those Bible verse cards at me, and I let you guess which one it was. Be still and know that I am God. The comfort that I felt at that moment was indescribable. Fast forward 9 years to me here today, and I'm still answering those questions, and daily realizing there are so many things I don't know. However, that text, especially that verse, stuck with me. Through my very off and on relationship with God in the last few years, I've thought about what faith means to me. To me, faith is a trust relationship. It is a trust in something I might not be able to see, but still believe exists. And it's not easy at all. Sometimes it's the hardest part of life. I think the hardest part for me, at least, is the giving up of control. To trust someone else, you make yourself vulnerable and you lose just a bit of control. In our culture, that's a hard thing to do. There is a reason the phrase is a leap of faith and not a step or crawl of faith. You don't get to fully trust someone and simultaneously hold all control and stay invulnerable. For the second time, I'll steal the words of Dr. Black, as it is the best articulated statement of faith that I've heard. Just like the best human relationships, we make ourselves vulnerable and take a leap of faith and open ourselves fully to a two-way loving relationship with God. This is why the Psalm 46 text has stuck with me for so long. The entire thing is about an intense trust in God. Through my college career, I've had some intensely terrible periods of time. Times where I haven't wanted to do anything. But what my faith allows me to know is not that everything is going to be okay, or that my problems aren't big, because at that moment they seem insurmountable. No, what my faith allows me to know is that when my world is crashing down, and I'm trying to hold on to my last protection, that last wall I have around me, my faith allows me to know that I don't have to. I can allow myself to become fully vulnerable and trust that my security comes from God alone. What I discovered last night after doing some research on this psalm is that apparently the translation of "be still" isn't the best translation from the original text. The author of the reference I was reading argued that a more appropriate translation would be "stop" or "throw down your weapons." In other words, depend on God instead of yourself. And you know what? I think I will. As Hope Overflow comes up, I'll briefly tell you why I love this next song. This song was something my youth director would play and sing every week at our Sunday night worship service. It calls us to fully surrender ourselves to God and allows us to become vulnerable. I challenge you that as we sing this song, for these few minutes, give yourself to God. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Thank you for allowing me to share myself